looking of, all right, what are the specific things that we have to do? You look at somebody like Mamdani, who I think is an extraordinary talent. He wants people to be able to afford housing in New York. Well, I would assume liberals in New York want the same thing. And so I don't worry as much about some of these issues within the Democratic Party. What I'm more interested in for Democrats is, do you know how to just talk to regular people like we're not in a college seminar, right? Can you talk plain English to folks about?
I think that's one of the powers that Mamdani has.
That's correct.
Is that he also, not only does he talk like a normal person, but he lives a normal life, but he names what is obviously wrong.
Yes.
And he goes, we should change that thing.
That doesn't make any sense. And not have a bunch.
That's interesting. I have some points. Pushback, if you might say. And I think that's a sign of healthy admiration. Can you push back or go back and forth with people that you look up to? I admire Barack Obama. I think most of us do. He's talking there about something that people have said plagued the Democratic Party, right? Which is, hey, got to be able to talk to the American people regularly. Plain English. Not everything is a college paper. I have some thoughts about that. And then I also have other thoughts. Let's first deal with the issue at hand. How big of an issue is it that people in the Democratic Party don't speak plainly? I contend it's not that big of an issue. I contend the two groups that talk about this, Democrats and Republicans alike, the politicians and the common people, are being slightly disingenuous. Okay? The Democrats who critique themselves of saying they need to get better at speaking regularly, people are ignoring the fact that some of them speak that way in order to dance around the issues and dance around the fact that they're beholden to corporate donors. Walk with me. Let me say that again, and I'm going to get to the Republicans that critique them. A lot of Democrats, I'm not saying Barack Obama's doing this, but I am saying this is what I'm noticing. A lot of Democrats are ignoring the fact that some of them do that, mumbo jumbo speak to ignore the issues at hand that they need to speak about plainly to help the American people because they are beholden to corporate donors. Next point, the Republicans that critique them about it, in my opinion, are insulting the American public. You just got to be able to deep it. Just follow me here, because they know damn well the American public isn't always missing the language or isn't always missing what the Democrats are saying. They know damn well the American public on a lot of these Midwest towns, Bible Belt, whatever, just don't like what they're hearing. They know the God honest truth is that most of these politicians are saying just about the same thing. The Democrats are just not choosing to use language that is insulting to non-white groups, to marginalized groups. And it's being conflated with you're using extensive vocabulary. Now let's push that aside. Okay? Actually, before we push it aside, let's now combine both groups, how they need to understand that they should probably stop insulting. Listen, I don't have that much faith in the American public. 6th grade reading level, all that. But I think we're putting too much emphasis on this issue. I think the issue more so about language, okay? Democratic side is speak plainly, speak in solutions. It's not just the fact that you're using high vocab. Speak in solutions and don't be beholden to corporate donors, because by not being beholden, you can speak in solutions plainly. Secondly, recognize that the opposing party is not that they're just speaking more plainly than you. The fact of the matter is they're using certain languages that you need to admit that you're not going to commit to doing that. Stop getting bullied off the block. You're getting bullied and you're letting them paint a narrative on you that you're not speaking plainly. Okay? Fix those two things. Now let's move it to the side. Barack Obama brought up zohranmamdani. I know I've had you guys here for a while. But now let's talk about there's a concept that I've heard in like sports, mostly basketball, where they say Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan, but it's going to be hard for Michael Jordan to teach someone else how to be Michael Jordan. His body's designed a certain way, his work ethic is a certain way. The concept in sports like basketball that it's harder to be a coach if you're a great player. Okay, let's call Zoran, in this case, Kobe Bryant. Let's call Barack Obama Michael Jordan. Okay, and what I need people to understand, okay, I'm not quite sure these two people are best equipped to tell you how to be them, because you most likely should try to carve your own lane. But I do think there are some of us who can see this thing from afar that might not be as good as politicians them too, that need to start saying what I'm about to say, which is, especially for Zohran Mamdani right now, let's not put too much emphasis on Zohran's personality. Okay? Your personality is going to be your personality. If I was a coach right now trying to coach people, and he talked about the rift between leftists and liberals, let's tell people some of the stuff that Zohran did. I don't know if he can tell you this or he don't want to give you the sauce. Is number one, not being beholden to certain people. Immediately identifying his base and what they want. Speaking in solutions. Like, a lot of people start saying, well, he speaks plainly. See, that's what star players tell you. That's what Barack Obama doing right there. But he's not getting into the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty is the general public got to see, at least in New York City. This might not work everywhere. Let's just talk New York City. Then I'm going to talk Barack Obama, how he worked on won the federal elections, right? National elections, right? But Zohran Mamdani, for his city, identified early, I'm not going to take money from these super rich landlords. I'm not going to get money from these corporate donors. That's not my base. Stood on it. Then run grassroots campaigns, okay? The working class. You got to be committed to the bit. So he was able to make certain promises, and as you can see now, is trying to enact on some of those promises. Nobody's going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. Certain questions at debates, where's the first place you're going to visit? He made a commitment to what he is. So the divide between leftists and liberals, let's not just paint it as, we're not speaking plain English. Let's paint it as a lot of, I'm not trying to start a fight, but a lot of liberal folks in politics and the elites are beholden. They're not here to talk solutions because they beholden to certain rich folks. Let's speak in plain English. Okay? Because it sounds like Barack Obama right there is saying, hey, why don't you just be like Zohran, put the ball behind your back and dunk it. No. Let's talk fundamentals. If you can't dunk, let's talk about how you get to the rim. Now, Barack Obama, and I'm going to end here. Okay? I remember not his governance, his campaign. His campaign. I was young, but I remember. Don't just be enamored with the cult of personality stuff, his identity, first black president. He did something that he's not speaking explicitly. He says it, but he's not getting to the nitty gritty. That brother campaigned hard and campaigned to reach areas in America. I was like, I didn't even know a Democrat would want to do that or can do that. Okay? And he sounded pretty educated to me. And in fact, some of the biggest critiques of him was that he's that to a lot of Americans, he came off like he was going to move like a Zohran. But then he ended up trying to be a little more centrist in his approach, working with Congress. That is how you got elected, particularly the first time. Change, hope. Okay? Okay? All right. I hope this has made a lot of sense, but this whole language thing and you got to speak plainly. Yeah, I get it. But we got to admit there's a side of America that's it's not about being plain and they just hate. They're hateful people. We got to let them go. And in return, seek out the working class. Don't be beholden and be able to make promises that you can keep. Okay? Good talk.